Hey Jaden, I just thought I would make you a quick video. I'm in between training sessions and just wanted to make sure that I could send you this instruction, and then you can watch it when you're available. Okay, so for number 10, it says assume that a watermelon dropped from a tall building falls y equals 16t squared feet in t seconds. Find the watermelon speed at the instant t equals 5 seconds. So for this problem, this y equals y equals 16t squared, that right there, that's a position function. Okay, that's how far it's going to drop in the amount of time, and it also tells you that because it can't see it because I wrote on it, but it says feet. And so that means that's another reason that you can like kind of tell that that's going to be a position function. So if you are looking for its speed, then you're looking for velocity. Okay, so if you have a position function and you have to find the velocity, you're going to take the derivative. So if y equals 16t squared, then dy dx is going to be 32t. And then we're evaluating that at t equals 5. So you're going to plug the 5 in for the t. So that would be 32 times 5, which is 160. So it looks like that's going to be choice C for number 10. Okay. So then the next one you asked about was number 14. For 14, you're going to do implicit differentiation. And let's see, I don't know where I can squeeze this in here. They definitely don't give me very much space. Let's see, cosine xy. Let's see, maybe I can just get a new one here. So if I write this, it was cosine xy, and that was probably a mistake. Probably should not have done that. Here we go. So cosine xy plus x to the fourth equals y to the fourth. So plus x to the fourth equals y to the fourth. Plus x to the fourth equals y to the fourth. Okay, so we're going to differentiate this implicitly. So every time you have an x and you take the derivative of it, don't forget it's going to be dx over dx, which actually is just going to simplify to 1. And then every time you take the derivative of y, it's going to be dy over dx. So derivative of the cosine of anything, because this is like all one angle right here, is negative sine. I don't know why this is not writing too well for me here. Negative sine of xy. Okay. And then you're going to times that by, and now we have to take the derivative of the inside. So the derivative of, so this is like u and v. We have like product rule here. So when we do product rule, it's going to be the derivative of u, which is the derivative of x, which is 1, times the derivative of, times y, so 1y, plus the derivative of y, which is dy over dx, times x. Okay? Okay, so let's see here. So plus, and then this is going to be 4x to the third equals 4y to the third dy dx. Boy, this is really not writing too well for me. Let's see if I can make this a little bit better. Dy dx. Okay, now, we have to solve for dy dx. So we need to get everything with dy dx on the left and everything else that doesn't have a dy over dx over on the right. So let's see here. This is messy. Let me see if I can write this better. So negative sine, oops, sine of xy. Hold on here, let me fix this. Okay, all right, I've been trying to like fix this, and so hopefully I can make this better now. So negative sine x, y, and then this is times y, yeah, that is his writing there, plus x, and then dy over dx, like that, plus 4x cubed equals 4y cubed dy over dx, there. Okay, so I would have to distribute this. So this would be, I'm gonna put the y in front. So negative y sine xy minus x sine xy dy dx plus 4x cubed equals 4y cubed dy over dx. Okay, so let's see here. I'm gonna move this. I'm gonna move this over to the right-hand side, and I'm gonna move this over on the right-hand side. So this will be negative x sine of xy dy dx equals, and then I'm gonna move this over. So y sine of x dx, move this over, minus 4x cubed. Now I'm going to take this and move it over here. So it's going to be negative. So I'm going to put it in the front. Negative 4y cubed dy dx. Okay, doesn't matter if you put it in the front or the back, just as long as you put the negative sign in front of it. Okay, so now factor out dy over dx. This is negative 4y cubed minus x sine of xy, and that equals y sine of xy minus 4x cubed. Okay, so let's see here, make that a little bit bigger. All right, so we're right here now. Okay, so now dy over dx is going to equal y sine of x y xy minus 4x cubed all over negative 4y cubed minus x sine xy. Whew. Oh my goodness. All right, so that's your answer for, I think that was number 14. So now we might have to take a negative out or something to get it to match the multiple choice. So let's see here. Where was that? I think it ends up being, and I can't remember what we wrote down. Let's see. So if I go back to my note. I think if we take a negative out of the top and the bottom, that would be minus and positive. And if I took a negative out of this, this would both be positive, and you'd have a negative out in front here. So these negatives, oh, wait a second. So if I kept that negative and this positive and brought the negative out in the front, these negatives would cancel. I think it matches up with D. I believe that your answer is going to be D with that one. It's either, yeah, it's got to be. Ask me about that one if it's still like doesn't make sense to you, but I think it matches up. It ends up matching up with D. I cannot remember what our, never can remember what it looks like. Y sine XY. That's what we have on the top. So Y sine XY. Yeah. So I believe that it is D. Okay. Ask me about that if you're still not quite too sure. But anyway, we'll move on. Now, for number 15, that is asking you to take the derivative of arctan. Like this is the same as saying arctan of root 7x. You need to remember to do the chain rule for this. So dy over dx, when you take the derivative of arctan, that's a formula that we've memorized. So derivative of arctan is 1 over 1 plus the x squared, but this x, it's not just x, it's a root 7x. So it would be root 7x squared, and root 7x is just 7x. So you put a 7x, then you need to multiply by the derivative of root 7x. So the derivative of root 7x would be, let's see, if you had root 7x, that's the same as saying 7x to the 1/2 power. So when you take the derivative of that, you'd bring the 1/2 out in the front, recopy the 7x, raise it to the negative 1/2, and then multiply by the derivative of the inside, which is 7. So this would actually be 1 over 2 square root of 7x times 7. So we could just put the 7 in the top. So this would be 7 over 2 root 7x, like that. Which, if we look really carefully at all of the choices, is going to be C. Okay, so don't forget to do chain rule for that one. All right, so that was 10, 14, and 15. Now we need to do 22. 22. 22 is asking you mean value theorem. And so you need to plug in 6 and 25 for, so A is going to be 6 and B is going to be 25. So when you put f of B, so when you do this mean value theorem, you're going to put 25 in here and here. So that would be 150 divided by 25 is 6. 6 plus 25 is 31. So this is 31. I'm going to try to do as much work on this actual worksheet and so that I don't like forget what we're doing on another sheet. And then if you put, oops, I guess I should have used the eraser. If you put 6 in, this would be 6 plus 150 over 6. Well, 150 over 6 is 25. So this is going to be 25. 6 plus 25 is 31. And then divided by B minus A, not that it really matters because 31 minus 31 is going to be 0. So, but on the bottom here, this would be 25 minus 6. So this would be 31 minus 31 is 0 divided by 19, which is 0. So now, so that's the left-hand side. So let me erase all this. Okay. So the left-hand side is just going to be 0 equals, and then f prime of c, well, you're going to need to take the derivative of that. So let me get rid of all of this. So if we take the derivative, this is, well, if we rewrite it, it would be f of x equals x plus 150 times x to the negative 1, like that. You take the derivative of that, it's going to be 1, and then bring the negative 1 in the front there. So that would be minus 150x to the negative 2. So this would be 1 minus 150 over x squared, like that. Okay. And then we're going to solve that equation. So this would be like negative 1 equals negative 150 over x squared. If I subtract 1 from both sides, I could divide both of these by negative 1 and just get rid of that negative. So that becomes positive, and that's positive. And then I could put the 1 over 1 and cross multiply. So x squared equals 150. Take the square root. When you take the square root, it's going to be the square root of 150, which I believe in lowest terms is going to be plus or minus 5 root 6. I think that's going to be that choice D right there, because 25 times 6 is 150, and the square root of 25 is 5. So 5 root 6 plus or minus 5 root 6. And that should work. The positive and negative should work for that, both of them. The only reason you wouldn't use the negative is if like you had a square root or something, but we don't. So positive and negative answers. D is correct. Let's see. Last one, right? 23. Okay, so 23, we are, we can use the first or second derivative test to determine any absolute extrema. So I think I'm just going to go with the first derivative test. So if we take the derivative, this is a product here. You've got x and you have e to the 5x. So this is u and this is v. So dy over dx is equal to, the derivative of x is 1 times e to the 5x plus the derivative of e to the 5x is e to the 5x times 5 times x, like that. All right, so remember what we do with this. We're going to set this equal to 0. So 0 equals e to the 5x plus, I'm going to rewrite this as 5x e to the 5x. And you can factor out an e to the 5x. You're left with 1 plus 5x. That equals 0. Now you can set each factor equal to 0. So e to the 5x can equal 0, and 1 plus 5x also equals 0. Now, e to the x. E to the x looks like this. E to the 5x looks like that too. It's just a lot steeper. It's never going to equal 0. So this is never going to equal 0. Okay, you have a horizontal asymptote, which is the x-axis. So it's not gonna equal 0. But this one will. So x is going to equal negative 1/5. All right, so now we are going to, what are we going to do here? We're going to make a number line. We're going to put negative 1/5 on it because that's our only critical point. And we are going to check things bigger than negative 1/5 and smaller than negative 1/5 and see what we get. Put it back into the first derivative. So something bigger than negative 1/5 would be 0, like 0's over here. So I'm going to check 0. I don't think I'm going to put the hash mark there because I don't want you to think that that's a critical value. It's just a number I'm checking. So when you put 0 into the first derivative, Let me make a little space for myself right here to do that work. That would be e to the 5 times 0 times 1 plus 5 times 0. This is 1. So 1 times 1, that is positive. So you get a positive first derivative. We have a positive slope. Something smaller than negative 1/5 could be negative 1. Negative 1 works. So if I plug negative 1 into the first derivative, this would be e to the 5 times negative 1 times 1 plus 5 times negative 1, like that. So this would be e to the negative 5th times 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. 1 minus negative 5 is negative 4. Now, careful with e to the negative 5th. Remember, if we were to rewrite that, that's really just 1 over e to the 5th. It's not actually a negative number. It's just a fraction. So negative 4 over that is going to be less than 0. So this is going to be negative, which means you're going to have a negative slope. So the graph goes down and it goes up, which means at negative 1/5, you have a minimum. All right, so let me get all my scribbles out of here so that we can actually look at the multiple choice answers. So we want the one that says minimum. So it's not A and it's not D. All right, now to get the other answer, that's not an interval that they're giving you. That's like coordinates, X and Y. So we got to take the negative 1/5 and not plug it back into the derivative. You have to plug it back into the original function to get the Y coordinate at that point. So I'm going to take negative 1/5 and I'm going to plug it in up here. So this would be Y equals negative 1/5 times e to the 5 times negative 1/5. And so that's going to be negative 1/5 times e to the negative 1, because those 5s are going to cancel, which is the same as saying negative 1 over 5e to the positive 1, or just 5e. So that is going to be C. So C is your answer. Alrighty, I think I got this. I think I got all the questions that you asked me about. Let me know on that one there that we were doing on the other note and see if you have anything else you want to ask. Other than that, have a good one.